So we are here at the kitchen table of the Ever Archive exhibition here at Serra Alves. I will give you a little bit of the context around this exhibition. You know by now that it's an exhibition curated by the artist Joseph Grigeli and dedicated to 30 years of publication and publication project by the curator Ulrich Obrist. The starting point of this exhibition really came to mind here at Serra Alves as I was looking at the space we are in right now, this gallery in the library, and trying to figure out how can we continue to activate this space with this logic of what do we show in a library, what do we show in a library which is already populated by so many voices of artists and archives. In parallel to that, I wanted to do something to better understand for myself and better share or make public the way Ulrich Obrist has, over the last 30 years, deeply changed the way we think about curating, about exhibition, about the shape of an exhibition, about the location of an exhibition, about the format of an exhibition, and also through that about how do we engage as curators with artists. What are the rules of engagement? And is there any rules of engagement? One of the other starting point for me was that over the last few years, more and more, I started to think of the work that Ulrich Obrist has done as a Tower of Babel. Voices and voices and voices of artists, of architects, of philosophers, of poets, of filmmakers, the most incredible creative minds of our time that Ulrich Obrist has interviewed and built a record of the most incredible content and the most advanced ideas that constitute the fabric of our contemporary culture. A few years ago, 2 years ago exactly, I called Ulrich Obrist, who is currently the artistic director of the Serpentine Galleries in London, and I called him and I say, look, do you have an archive? And if you have an archive, can we show it? And Ulrich told me, well, I don't have one archive. I have many archives, and they are spread out across different places in Europe and in the United States. And immediately, Ulrich Obrist told me, look, I would love, I'm happy to be part of this project, but I cannot be the curator of this project. I need to take a step aside. I don't want it to be a monument to me. And as Ulrich Obrist has done, since I've known him, he introduced me to someone. And I think we'll talk about that later, one of his great quality and virtue of his work is this capacity to introduce, to create connection between people. And immediately, Ulrich told me, you need to get in touch with the artist Joseph Grigeli in Chicago. Joseph Grigeli is an artist, is a teacher, a scholar, a published writer. And he told me, Joseph, since 1997, has collected my publication archives. And every month I send him something. I send him a box, and over years he has built this incredible project about my archives. So you should collaborate with him. So, and that, I think that's one of the first element in this project here is actually this email that Hans sent to Joseph Grigeli and myself to put us in touch. I knew Joseph Grigeli a little bit. I knew his work. It's a very profound and meaningful work, which is about how textuality in art is a way to frame voices, to share content. And Joseph Grigeli, over the years, has collected little notes that he used to dialogue with people, and he gathered them as an archives that constitute his work. The connection between him being an artist and him being the curator of the curator, as he described this initiative, was a very logical path. So we started to work immediately on this project. What it did, I think, what this introduction by Ulrich Obrist did, this introduction to Joseph Grigeli, what it did, it added another aspect of what was at the time only a seed of an idea. It was to bring an artist at the center of this project, to give the voice of an artist, the vision of an artist, the central stage in this curatorial project. And that, for me, make the project even more fascinating. That this exhibition here is both an exhibition about curatorial practice, but it's also, if we want, it's also the work of art by the artist Joseph Grigeli. So over 2 years, interrupted by the pandemic, by the serendipity of time, with my colleague here, Sonia Oliveira, the librarian of Serralves, we've worked, we had this very systematic method. Every week we would meet, and on regular basis we would go on the phone with Joseph and his team to little by little decide and build this exhibition. One point which was very important from the very beginning of the exhibition was the idea that it was not a definitive object, that the exhibition as it exists today on day one is not the exhibition that it will be in 8 months on the last day of the exhibition, that this exhibition will also mimic the way Ulrich Obrist worked, that this accretion of content, of voices, that bring layers and layers and layers to his work. So every month here, we will add new information, new documents, new video, new testimony, in order to really give the ethos behind Ulrich Obrist's work its full content, its full spread. One of the other reasons for this exhibition, and I think I mentioned that already at the beginning, was to learn from it. Over the last 30 years, the world of exhibition has changed. We don't limit ourselves with exhibition in galleries, in web queues, in museum, and it's something we learned from Ulrich Obrist's practice, that the platforms available for art are as diverse and as diversified and as many as we want to invent. And it's very much what he has done with a lot of freedom. In a way, he has liberated the exhibition from the museum. And actually one of his first initiatives, called Museum in Progress, is very much about that, which was to give artists a voice and provide them with a platform that were not conventional. I think Ulrich mentioned earlier that the artist Allighero Boetti told him that he wanted to produce a puzzle for airlines, so people would have puzzle when they fly. So it's not an exhibition, but you take the plane and you have a puzzle, and then you keep it, and you have a puzzle in your pocket. You have an exhibition in your pocket. So this idea of liberating the exhibition for conventional format is something that I was very interested to be able to show, because I think for young curators to see this exhibition can also opened the door to many ways of thinking. What also was very interesting or very important to me when I look at the legacy of his work, the ongoing legacy of his work, because it continues to build and it continues to deepen his relationship to his practice and to artists, is how the artists are at the starting point of what he does, and there is this generosity that also Ulrich Obrist has to always bring to the forefront the voices of the artists whom he has interacted with. It's very clear when he describes his work that few artists, like the Swiss artist Fischli and Weiss, or the artists Christian Boltanski, Bertrand Lavier, Annette Messager, that the artists who were very close to him have had a very strong influence on his methodology. And I thought it was not only this exhibition is a tribute to the work, to the way he has changed the world of curating, but also it's a way to honor the voice of artists. So, for instance, I mean, he mentioned that earlier, that the series of projects that he has been doing, like Do It or Take Me, I'm Yours, really came out of his dialogue with artists. I just mentioned Christian Boltanski. So this idea that a work of art is not expected, that the experience of a work of art is not necessarily where we think it will be. It could be in a newspaper, it could be in under the table in a kitchen, it could be in a cabinet in a kitchen. So all this aspect of his work, I think, have liberated not only artists, or have given artists the possibility to explore other ways of presentation of their work. Just walking through the exhibition, you will see how diverse actually have been the different avenues that he has invented. So I really wanted. I mean, not that I wanted. I learned that actually in the process. In a way, I took it for granted that this curator whom I've seen and interacted with for almost 30 years now. I took the work for granted. Through this exhibition, I think it's also important to see how the work that he does require an incredible level of discipline and energy and commitment to the voices of artists. So by inviting, so I talk about the added value of Joseph Grigeli, and it's very very much palpable in the installation. And I think I know that Joseph Grigeli wrote that an archive is not an accumulation or a collection of documents. It's a collection of relationships. And the logo of this archive, of this project, and you have a flag with this logo at the entrance of the gallery, are this interconnected circle. And it's very, very much what it is about. I think, the reason we have this project is because we had a relationship. We knew each other. He knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and this domino effect, this interlacing circle made this exhibition possible. And also the discipline of Joseph Grigeli, who since 1997 has dedicated his time, his passion, his work to building this archive of different voices. So by different voices, of course, it's the voice of the artist, but it's also through the publication, through the works, through the dialogues, the ideas that animate, that frame our times. The interviews that Ulrich Obrist has done over the years, they talk about inclusivity, they talk about the environment, they talk about a level of shared humanity, which I think is very important to bring back to the center and the forefront of what we do as an institution and as curators.